Stand and give the choir. Will you stand up with me? Thank you for doing that. If you're able. If you're not, you're never compelled. The choir is going to join you very quickly. And while they're joining you, I want to say that next Sunday is going to be a most unusual day. It will not be just a preaching day. It's going to be a wonderful communion, Thanksgiving communion in the congregation. And you'll hear testimonies of people who have been touched by the power of God. You'll hear things that you'd like to hear, that you want to hear. And I want you to bring somebody with you. Be ready for the greatness of God. I thank you because you're here. Thank you because you're here and you're ready for worship. And in the few minutes that I'm going to have today that I'm going to take, I'm praying that the Lord will answer a question for you that is probably the biggest of all, and you can be seated. Thank you. It is probably one of the biggest questions that we ever have asked us. And it is, why did I not get an answer to my prayer? I'm not going to ask for everybody to raise hands to tell me who has had experiences like this, because I already know we all have had it like this. A certain mother that I knew had this son that she called her prodigal son, left home seeking his fortune. The mother prayed for God to bring him back. She fasted and prayed desperately. But for years, that boy strayed away and went farther and farther into the far country. And he never came back, to my knowledge, in spite of the mama's prayers. What is wrong with my prayer? She said. Now you think of yourself now. Another woman and a man had a son who decided to move to Canada. He wanted to live among the farmland and hunt and farm and fish. He would live by himself and not have anybody with him. He moved from England, and they said, we're never going to let you go. And while he was there, everything went smoothly until one day, while he was sitting at the table, he began to shake forcibly, and it looked like he was having some kind of seizure. He regained himself, didn't say anything to anybody in a letter about it, anybody passing by, which was just really seldom. The next Sunday, at the same time as he was sitting at the table in the same place, the shaking started again. And this time he stood at the chair and beside it and could not move. And that was a strange thing for him. He had never been paralyzed before. But he regained himself. And at the same time, the next Sunday, he was shaken so badly that he ran out of the house and left his meager supper or dinner and went out into the barnyard to talk to the chickens and the pigs. The next Sunday, he was sitting there. It was too much for him. And when it hit him, instead of driving him upward, it drove him downward, down to his knees. This true story is real. And he said, Father, I ask you to come into my life and save me and forgive me. He wrote his mama and daddy and told them, in letters that went back and forth. They asked what time it had happened, and they told him later in the letter, son, it was practically the same time that we were praying for you right here in our house. You see, your sister and my husband, your dad, we made a pact between us that we would not do anything until we heard that you had accepted the Lord. And it was right at the very same time that he asked Christ to come into their life. It was a case of answered prayer. We could gloat over it if we wanted to. I know of these are true incidents that I'm giving you, none from books or anything. That one came from a book, okay? Here's a woman who prayed for her husband who left her high and dry. And she wanted him back regardless of the cost, and told God what she wanted. She besought God with all of her heart. She fasted, she prayed, she expected him to come bursting through the doors. But she said years later, she's still waiting and nothing happened. And she asked me, Pastor, I want to know what went wrong with me and my prayers. Oh, I'm just beginning. These are people who ask me things. A mother prayed for her daughter. She had terminal cancer. She besought God to heal her daughter. She did every kind of praying that she could. She did what they said, I expect a miracle. She went to the prayer tower. She got teams of people to fast and pray, but her prayers were not answered. And she asked me as pastor, what went wrong with my praying? Does it sound like something that you've hit before? A young man came to me. I can see him right now just as plain as day. He was a college man and had gone to college somewhere here, Methodist or Campbell. And one day on Ramsey Street, pulled me over. It got me to stop. And out of the window of the car, a man who is desperate said, Pastor, you know my girlfriend. I said, I know, she's beautiful. What's happened? He said, she has been just diagnosed with terminal cancer. I said, when? He said, a few days ago. He said, Pastor, I have called everybody I can. He was really upset. Down around the funeral homes down there is where we stopped. He said, I am desperate. I cannot lose this woman. She's the dream of mine. Pastor, will you pray? I said, it's a given. I'll start right now. Drive me to my knees for you. And then he said, I've called everybody I know now. He said, I've called Akron, Ohio. He said, I called the prayer tower. And it was the day that this was happening when Rex, you remember him, Humbard? Anybody remember Rex, the Church of Tomorrow? Rex really was great on TV. Really, what a great guy and a great ministry he had. The reason I remember not just the sickness, but the way he said it. He said, Pastor, I've called Oral Roberts. I've called Kenneth Hagin and Kenneth Copeland. He said, and now I've even called Hex Rumbard. He never caught it. I never straightened him out. I knew God knew who he was talking about. He said, I called Hex Rumbard. He said, and now I'm calling you. He didn't say Hedge John's path, but he just said, Pastor John. He said, I believe that my prayers are going to be answered. I want you to know we prayed, and we prayed. But the girl died with cancer. What went wrong with his prayer? A young man are you listening to me? I'm old enough and strong enough to tell you that sometimes it works and sometimes it didn't. Listen carefully to me. A young man sought to have the Lord as a new way of life. He tried to pick the right friends. His marriage had been broken many years before. This is real. He almost lost his children. He sought for answers for God to change him through a new marriage. He moved everything to another place, hoping that he would get a new start. and that God would answer his prayers, he ended up by putting a bullet through his head. He couldn't take it. Now, you can begin to ask questions about things like that, can't you? I think you can. I know a great many believers struggle with this thing called unanswered prayers. And instead of just answering you and saying all of them are answered, I wanted to try to say something about that too. Not to frustrate you, not to turn you against prayer, but to make you believe in it more, if you'll listen to me. I recall when Miss Fay took sick. She didn't take sick. It was an accident, and we all know it. When she had the pulmonary, embolism, the pulmonary embolism, it went from her ankle up her leg, right up her side, and it'll go either to the breathing, the lungs, it'll go to the brain, it'll go to the heart. It chose eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and it chose the morning that she was saying, I'm ready to go home. And she was almost gone until I heard the words, Diane, that said, we found a pulse. We found a pulse. But it didn't last long. And the next time they did, and she lasted all night. And I want you to know what I did. I'm the preacher. I went to that hospital, and I prayed that afternoon. And instead of stopping, I prayed through the afternoon. And instead of stopping, even when folks came in, it didn't matter. They just joined me if they wanted to, but I never stopped. And at night, when all the lights were out and everything was lonely, I got on my face before God. And I said, Lord, save that woman. I got to have her. Lord, save her, I ask you. Now, I prayed in the English. I prayed in the Greek. I prayed in every tongue I could find. And the tongue that I didn't even understand, I was praying not 1 hour or 2 or 3, but when the sun rose the next morning, I was still praying for that woman. I said, God, it's got to work. I believe it is. But around 10 o'clock, she smiled goodbye. And with a smile on her face, alas, she was present in heaven with the Lord. Heaven's going to be a nice place. I mean, I really believe that. But I'm telling you that I prayed. You see, I prayed. I really wanted her back. I could lie to you, but I mean, I can't do that. I prayed that she would come back. She didn't come back. And I have met many people who have done the very same thing. Even in the last week or two. It is a big thing. And I said, Lord, well, why didn't you answer? Why didn't you answer? Lord, not only did you not give me the answer, you didn't even answer me. It all happened when I had been sent here, and I was 3 years into the ministry here in the little chapel. I got the word that my sister, Rose, who was 40 at the time, with 3 children, all who would grow up to be the doctors or whatever, and they too would die. And they said it's melanoma right here on the side. And this doctor didn't know much about it, and the good Dr. Duke was working on stuff, but he was too late. He incubated, he did everything he could. It was really something. We followed it to the T, everything. We became friends, this doctor did with me, and he said, I'm trying to save your sister. We did everything we could. We prayed. I remember going there and praying for her that night that she died. One of them looked up at me, one of the relatives or one of the friends, and said, after I prayed that prayer, they said, if she doesn't live now, I don't know what could ever happen. I said, I believe that too. And that next morning, she was history. And you say, did you lose it all? I said, no, but I did ask God. I'm telling you, I'm feeling for you. I asked God, why, God? I want to know why. And I want to tell you what God told me. Get ready for it. It's going to change you. He told me nothing. Nothing. That's the sad part about it, when they tell you nothing. Not only did he not answer me, he just didn't even answer me. And I came to that point where I said, Lord, I will keep on asking you why you didn't heal her. So the rest of my ministry has been here, and it was about 7, 8, 10 years ago, I got an answer. I'm going to give it to you. Are you ready? Why Rose didn't get healed. You expected me to stand up and say, well, you did some kind of sin, and that's the reason they didn't. It happened when I was studying with the discipleship course that I was teaching. I can see the man who came and was going to kill himself that night, and Charlie Fox and some of the great lawyer who lives in Seattle and a different other ones, they jumped in there with me and saved the man's life. It was during that time. We were studying and listening to Henry Blackaby and different things like discipleship by Avery. I can't think of his name, from the Baptist church. It was powerful. But here's what came to me. The Lord spoke to my heart then and said, now you're going to be preaching on Easter. And when you do, you're going to preach on the 7 sayings from the cross. And I began to preach on it. We come to Calvary, the greatest place in all the world, where the angels wept and the devils danced and jumped for glee. And I got down to the one where it says, Father, forgive them. It was hard. And then I came to the one that said, he leaned his head over on the cross, blood running down his eyes and face and body, gnats eating him, flies picking at him, and he leaned his head down and said, Father, why have you forsaken me? I promise you this, it may not do you good, but it did me, because I had the problem lifted from me right. I didn't say it was still easy. It lifted from me right at that moment. I've never had it since. And God said, now you know what you were asking me about why it happened. He said, there are some things that are made for only me to understand and not for you. You do not know the times nor anything. But he said to me these words, not audibly, but in my heart, it just bounced all around at me. And he said something like this. He said, you asked me why she wasn't healed. The answer you will find somewhere later. But I want you to know that the man that was dying there was my son. Jesus, the one and only Son, the only Son of God, that flung these stars into place and that brought you all the way you are. He said he was looking up to me saying, why have you abandoned me? And he said, I want you to look carefully. And I looked at everything I could. You can join me, and if you will, I looked to find an answer from God. But the Lord spoke to my heart and said, you'll never find an answer. He said, because I never gave my son an answer. And the thought hit me, listen, if you being human like you are, if I didn't answer my son when he thought I abandoned him, what right do you have to say, why have you forsaken me? I said, sir, the case is closed. I never went back to him at all. I never asked him for anything else. He said, he didn't even answer me. He said, I didn't answer your Your Savior Jesus had died for you on the cross. He said, why do I? You have to come demanding me that I answer you every time. For some things, son, are locked up. But one day, you're going to understand these things. One day, it's going to be open to you. One day, the box will be opened and the answer book will be there. And you will understand as I understand then, because you aren't able to understand with your little mind that you've got now. You aren't able to understand it anyway. Because I still believe that all of this sickness goes back to the garden with the original sin. And I think that they brought it on us. And I think as long as we're in this world, we are going to have sickness. We're going to have diseases. We're going to have plagues like we've been having with this stuff we've been dying from. Listen, we're going to have the Donnie Deeses and Tommy Bissett's and the Tim McKenzie's and his son that died. Look, I'm telling you, we don't have to know it all. And the Lord said, son, listen, you don't have to know it all. You just say, listen, it's enough for me, Lord. Then he taught me from these words, and I want you to hear it. I mean, I don't have much else to say to you today but this. But I'm going to give it to you the way the Lord spoke it to me. And he said, through Paul, you can understand some things through Paul. You know why? Because he was a real man. He wasn't a namby-pamby. He hit it right on. He came right to the heart of things. He had a problem with people saying you try to get all gloated. Oh, because you went to heaven, you saw some things. But he said in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, he said, the experience that I had was worth boasting about, but I'm not going to do it. I will boast only about my weaknesses. You hear what he said now? Think of your weaknesses right now. I'll boast only about my weaknesses. Not weakness, but weaknesses. A lot of them. If I wanted to boast, I would be no fool in doing so, because I would be telling the truth, but I won't do it, because I don't want anyone to give me credit beyond what they can see in my life or hear in my message, even though I have received such wonderful revelations from God. So to keep me from becoming proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger from Satan himself to buffet me and to prick me and to let me know that I'm a human. And the Lord allowed that to come to me. This is what Paul is telling you and me. He allowed it to come to me to show me something. And what was that? 3 different times I begged him. I said, God, where are you when I'm hurting? 3 different times I begged him to take it away, Lord. You know I don't want to hurt anymore. Each time he said, my grace, son, is all you need. My grace. What is grace? If you were in AE, you know what I'm saying. The acrostic, come on. God's riches at Christ's expense. Say it with me, everybody. With me this time. Come on. God's riches at Christ's expense. Say it fast. Come on. God's riches at Christ's expense. You have this everlasting life, not because you are just a human. You have it because God had grace for you and me. And because Jesus Christ made it possible through his own suffering on that cross when those flies ate him up. And they looked at him naked, hanging on that cross, carrying that, I don't know, somebody, I think it was Chuck or somebody said, a 400-pound hunk of wood up a hill 2 miles. And when you get to that skull, you look at it and you say, how could he do it? And Simon of Cyrene took it on himself and said, give me that cross. And he took it up the hill for him. And some of us are so namby-pamby, and we can't even have anything going against us unless we say, you don't love me anymore, do you? Some of us can't even get anything unless we get praise and honor for it. Like if you sing a great song, if you don't tell me I look good and I do it good, I'll just go somewhere else. What kind of fool are you? You do all to the glory of God. Not to your glory, not to my glory, but all to put your hands together. Do that one time. I think some of y'all are too lazy to even clap. Come on, do it with all the gusto you've got. You're in church. Oh, you can move me, boy. You can move something good. Oh, my Lord. To the glory of God, so that I would not boast in myself, Paul said. For I would brag not on myself, but I would brag only and boast only in the cross of Jesus Christ. That's what he said. I will glory in the cross. I'm not any good at this, but you're going to have to bear with me, okay? So if you don't like it, you can just order me a hamburger or whatever it is. But I want to get something that came to me. This is real. I never have done it like this, but thank God, with the permission, without it, I'm going for it, okay? And here's one that came to me about a man who is very sick. And he's letting me know 2-3 days ago what it is to know that you're terminal or whatever it is. I can do it, can't I? Are you ready? You see it all the time. I hurt to even read something like this. But he sent it to me, and he entitled it, God is Faithful. Now you have to listen now. Don't move. Listen. If you didn't hear anything else, just listen to this. And I'm probably going to lose it. I already have. I hit something, but anyway, I'll go back and get it. I told you I was a beginner, okay? But I'll get it. If I keeping some of the people around me, they'll get it for me. I'm on it. It's called God is Faithful. We all have to face hard things. It's not if you will face them, but when you will face them. But when those challenges come, you can know you're not alone. In Isaiah 43:2, God reminds Israel that his faithfulness doesn't change with their circumstances. He was faithful in the past, and he would continue to protect and provide for them. And this person lifted this in the regular studies and devotions and sent it to me. And I go on and read you what his lesson said. When you pass through the waters. Now you know he's giving Isaiah, don't you? Okay? Watch how he does it. When you pass through the waters, yeah. Have you passed through the water lately? I didn't say if you passed any water, but if you passed through the water. That prophecy was given over to me while I was stood in Haiti one time on the orphanage porch, high above Haiti, and God spoke to me at the most critical time in my life. It was the most critical, I thought. After 400 years of slavery, God empowered Moses to lead the Israelites out of Egyptian captivity. Just as the opposing army was closing in on all seemed lost, God made a way right through the Red Sea. Exodus 14. This is probably what the book of Isaiah is referencing to remind the Israelites of God's power. Listen to this one in the study. When you pass through rivers, now you pass through the waters, listen to this one. When you pass through rivers, they go back to Jordan River. Y'all remember the old Jordan? I used to think it was just death, but it's all that sorrow that you're passing through and that trial you're passing through. When you pass through the rivers, Isaiah's readers would have likely been reminded of the time God dried up the Jordan River for the Israelites when they were crossing over with the ark of the Lord. They even built a memorial so that even generations to come would remember God's presence. You can find this story in Joshua chapter 3. And listen to this one. Let's see if you've done this. When you walk through the fire. In the book of Daniel, 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, were thrown into the fiery furnace after refusing to obey the king's decree to bow down to an idol instead of to God. They were miraculously delivered and didn't even smell like smoke. This story you will find in Daniel 3, and although it did not happen at the time, God's word is true, and he knows what the word is going to be. Even though this event, you can read it. These things recall God's faithfulness in the past. And if you, listen, forget what I said, if you can start with that brain right here, you got a brain, it's the cerebellum, you got a brain, I believe most of y'all have. All of us, I hope, including me, I hope so. Maybe not for doing this today, but if you can find the time, instead of griping against God, to take your pen or your tape recorder or whatever you got, it's a dictaphone with me, and recall times when you were down and out in a circumstance which means something's all around you, okay? You remember that? You remember when everything was against you and you said, I'm not going to make it. You remember when you cried to another one and said, I got to make it. You know how I know how I've done it. Write it down. And go back to those times when the Lord didn't abandon you at your circumstance. Your circumstance will never dictate God's blessing and anointing upon your life. That's my best for me today to you. Your circumstance will never dictate what God is going to do in your life. Don't hide behind a circumstance and say, it's all around me. Circumstance, meaning around, and I'm right in the middle of it, and I'm standing. Circumstance, how do you stand in a circumstance? Stand mighty. Say, I know whom I have believed. And I know that it is for the grace of God. And I know that he's beat me down right now. But I want you to know, devil, that you're picking on the wrong one, because every time you beat me up and I go and get weak like this, the Lord places more strength in me than ever before. And God's trying to place it on you if you'll just open your heart and let him. God wants to do something for you today in this easy service we're in. He wants to touch your life. And I'm giving you what I feel that God wanted me to give. And a lot of other things there. But I'll just wind it down right now. I'll do the best I can. Okay? I had it all here somewhere, and it's here. I moved all that other off. Here's what I found. Now, I want you to get this now. Write this down. You're not going to write it down. I know you're not. But I forget it if I don't. I forget it if I write it down. Oh, boy. Here's what I've come to the conclusion of 58 years right here, whatever it is, that I've concluded. That's true. The 3 boys, Billy and Ed and Rufus, and adding Howard and Craven and all the others. Randy, this is what I have concluded, sir. I have concluded about this thing about God answering and gotcha. Name it and claim it. Yes. Put certain kind of seed into your bathwater and you're going to get the miracle by tomorrow night. Or the man that's my friend. I mean, I don't have much to do with him. But he says, listen, if you'll just make a vow, I promise you'll make a vow of $1,000 today. And you turn it in according to what Miss So-and-so said. And you heard it, and Mr. So-and-so said, God will give you the answer to your prayer. But you got to make the vow first. How in the world could we be so gullible? And I looked at him and I said, well, listen, sir, I want to tell you, you're too late with that, David. I said, is it David? I said, here's what I want you to know. I said, according to the words that I just read here, and that Isaiah told me, and Joshua told me, and Moses told me, and David told me, according to the word of that they did, God is going to answer mine in his season. And I don't go by what I give you or what I give to someone else. For any time anybody says, give me money, and money will determine how fast God does it, you run as fast as you can go in the other direction. Listen to me. I said, if they ask you for money for the blessing of God, you run in the opposite direction. Don't you give them a cent. You'll be aiding and abetting the devil himself. Because what God has to give is given with a price, but it's free. He gave it all and bore it all to save me and to answer my prayers. I don't know why he doesn't answer, but I have come to this conclusion. And here are the three things. No elaboration. You're going to have to listen real fast now. Listen carefully. I have come to the conclusion that unanswered prayers sometimes happens to the very best of Christians. I'm looking at it right here. You don't know what somebody told me. They said when he stood up last week, said it just went all through me, the power did. I've already had it told of me, Don. I mean, look. It comes to the best of Christians. It rains on us all. The second thing I've learned, no elaboration. When it happens, it is humanly impossible to explain it. It's impossible to explain it. I don't know why. It's unexplainable. Number three, there are only three, and I'm through on that one. When it does happen, when it does happen, God has a higher purpose in mind for us. Hey, Johnny, I hadn't found it yet. I'm trying to find a higher purpose for Rose and for a lot of my wife, Faye, and for others, but I just have to look at him and say, when my heart opens and breaks and my heart bleeds, I will not question the way he leads. He can lead through the waters. He can lead through the rivers. He can lead through the fire. But I found this out. Like me, listen. He always leads through the blood. And don't let anybody tell you that it don't lead through the blood. It's the blood of Jesus Christ that gets us where we ought to get. Paul said, when I am strongest, then I am weakest. But God said, when you are weakest, Paulie, that's when I am strong. And you are strong, Paul, when you're weak. So if you're weak today, said, Lord, I'm strong because of you. Have you thought that sometimes our prayers are not answered because God can do more for us by not answering sometimes than he does by answering? He's going to answer every time. However, it will come. Sometimes he will say, as he said it with Hilda Whitman when she was healed instantly and walked from her bed out of a coma and went and got ready and went home and lived at 234 Andover Road. And I'm telling you, it was a healing. I don't understand it. I can't. It's unexplainable. It beats me. But I'm telling you, at that point, you become very strong. And he does things through you that you never dreamed that he would do. And he answers quick. I've seen him do it a lot of times with me, with us. More for others. It's hard to pray for yourself. Sometimes he will say, right now, this is it. Bang. And sometimes he says, no, it's not the time. You think you got something with that 110 IQ? You don't have anything but a cerebellum. Little tiny ring like an earthworm. And then the third thing, sometimes he says, wait. And that's what David meant when he said, Lord, I'm in the back pasture, but I want to get out. Oh, I want to go home. I want to be something else. I want to get my guitar, my Yamaha, and I want to play it, and I want everybody to know what I can do. But God kept him in the back pasture till the right time. And then came the bear and the lion and the giant, and he cut that circumcised Philistine's head off and carried it into old Saul and said, here he is, Daddy Rabbit, and threw the head down. And they started singing over him. Saul has killed thousands at one time, but David has killed his 10,000s. And he let you know why he was doing it too, because it said he got ticked off and tired of hearing about David. And David said, I'm going to do it right. Now, I do recall many instances of healing. You sang a song one time from that 32nd chapter, I believe, 31st, I'm not sure, when David said, you know my seasons, you know my times. You know the times, Lord. For everything is with a season, everything is with a time, and God's got his timing for you. I can't promise you it'll go the way you want it or the way I want it, but he's got timing, and he's not going to leave you out on the cold. I promise you. He's going to save you. Some way, he'll be there. That's why David wrote in that 27th Psalm, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings as eagles, woven together, like put a threefold cord together and you can't break it. Break one or two, but you can't break three. That's the way it is with the Lord when you grow strong in him. Good strong. And of a good courage. And allow God to let you wait upon him. Now, so that you'll know what I believe, and I still believe it, that if I came in here, and I said it 30 years ago, I said, if roll me in on a cot, I'd look at you and say it's God's will to heal you. I know what his word says. It's just got a time and a season. And I do recall that in that first little chapel, and this is the end. Okay, I want to stop because I can go right on, as you know. We're just very gentle right now. Listen. A woman slipped in that service over yonder, that little tiny chapel. About 150 there, 125, 50, I don't know what it was. I knew of children because I was a teacher of English and I taught them. She slipped in to see what would be in the preacher teacher's words. And I say, the Lord wants to heal you, and in this early service, real easy, if you will, okay? So I gave an altar call to pray for the sick. The devil said, check. He said, I'm telling you, I'm going to fix you up now, boy. And that little thing with that chancel behind it, we stood there. I still know some of the ones that were standing with me and prayed for. No fuss, no nothing, no jumping, no shouting, no bombs going off. She left, and that night she came back. And this time, she had taken off her blue patent leather shoes, because that's all she could wear because of her rheumatoid arthritis. Came in lively. Got out in the aisle. She's Baptist. Stuck her feet up and said, look at this. I said, what's that mean? She said, I don't wear these anymore. I said, God did something on my feet today when you prayed for me. I'm telling you. I wish she was living so she could tell you. Her children probably are. I need to ask them. Well, it's on record at Duke. So she went to Duke the next day. They laid her on the table and said, listen, what's happened to you? She said, I don't know. Said, well, you don't have bad feet anymore. I said, well, what are you wearing these shoes for? She said, these are good shoes. I don't wear them anymore. I said, all of a sudden something that said, tell us what happened at Duke. She said, well, I went to this church, and they just came out and just laid hands on me gently and prayed for me that God would heal me. And she said, all of a sudden, I didn't even know anything. No jolt, no nothing. Said, I just walked away and said, I knew I could walk, and I've taken those shoes off. I can bounce around. And I went back to church that night and told them, and they said, well, whatever it was, we want some of it. And that's one of the reasons that Duke University Medical Center today believes in divine healing. And you will find it. Believed more strongly by the doctors and those believing nurses than you will in most of our pulpits today. Now that's what you call healing instantly. Then there's healing that's gradual. It comes on you gradually. It's happened to me many times like that. It happens that way. Who am I to tell God how to do it? We take the medicine, don't we, Doc? And we let it work the way it will. Sometimes some of the medicine will take days to really kick in. But I know some of them will kick in 24 hours, don't I? And you know. We just can't tell you all about it. But it'll kick in 24 hours. Or maybe less. And if God says it, He will deliver it. He will not fail you. It's the best I can do. Y'all stand with me, okay? If you're going to clap, I want you to clap big. Don't do that halfway junk here, okay? I love you all. Right now, ushers are going to get in their place, but not down front yet, okay? If you're watching today, you know how many listeners we've got. Viewers, we got over 3,000. I wish you could have read it a couple of weeks ago when Annette Jones got on there and started writing page after page on what the Lord used to do for her here at this church. And others, like a trained man on leadership from Virginia, Pastor, what was his name? I can't get it. It won't come. Come up, tell me. Gary Cope. Sorry, it just happened to hit at the time. It's bad, you know. Gary Cope. I hadn't seen him in years, have I? He was watching. And they said, I won't tell you what he said, okay? Because it might make me like this, and I don't want a thorn. Okay, I got enough thorns as it is, all right? You know what I've been thinking? For you out there in television land, as they used to say, you out there in streaming land, I'd like to set up these little nests. That's a nest. Is that a good word? That's not a good word. A group. I want one for Miami Beach. You say, you want to go there? I do. It'd be a nice place. We could have a big retreat there, couldn't we? I want Miami. We got a team right there listening right now, haven't we? I forgot that you were here. And I don't mean one or two, but they get them around, and they just come around now. We're going to watch the Reverend. And they are kin to this congregation. And listen, we got them in Fort Lauderdale. They're listening. And we got, I don't know why at all beaches. I mean, I love it. We got them in Myrtle Beach. And you got 90-some of yours that moved out of this church, and they're there now. We got to have a time when we go down and have something with them and show them where they ought not to move, okay? But I've been wondering, why couldn't we spotlight you every week or so and have a picture taken of you and show who they are? Put you on TV, put you on streaming, so that we can say, these are believing with us. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Kentucky. Listen, you're watching in Kentucky. I mean, I'm being myself, okay? Look, Kentucky, if you're watching today, would you please make it known to me? Because I want to know who you are. I really want to know who I'm praying for. You got to do that now for me. And it's just right at the Northwood Temple at Ramsey Street. It'll come here. Put my name on it. I want to know who it is in Pennsylvania. And I know that in Ann Arbor, Michigan, they are worshiping with us right now. And they write me and tell me. And I say, you're worshiping with us, and Mr. Prashant, I want you to know that I'm pulling for your Michigan Wolverines to win. I said, you bless me and I'm going to bless you. I don't really do that. I'm just kidding you, okay? Look, I want it to open up to somebody out there of what we're saying. I want to be down home. I don't know any other way to be. I can try to be slick, but then I'm bad then, okay, really bad. But I want it to open up so that we can touch people. I want you to come and join me so that we can touch them together.